Okay, we're going to make a little part 2. I think I forgot to put this one on that first one, but that's good because I want that one to go out, and that was a fast one, but I'm going to go through this one a little bit slower with you. For those of you that are not familiar with this, or maybe you haven't been watching for the rapture because maybe you didn't know if you had to or whatever, but he does tell us to watch, okay, and for this express purpose, actually, because it's going to be a bumpy ride, okay? There's going to be some things, twists and turns to this thing. We're going to be paying attention, and if you've ever wondered when he had the prayer time in the garden there, and all the disciples kept falling asleep, he didn't tell them just to come pray with him, right? He said, I need you to watch, okay? But what happened? They kept falling asleep. So there's a little prophetic pattern there that he's telling us also a lot of times in Scripture to watch, but everybody's falling asleep, right? So nobody's paying attention to little signs and little things going around, and then the rapture's going to sneak up on us like a thief in the night, right? For some of us. And some of y'all don't know what that means. That term, thief in the night, is a term that stems from the temple. So the high priest was considered a nickname, the thief in the night, okay? There's some kind of little thing in there they had to keep, like, the fire going in it, in this little thing in the altar thing. They had to put the coals in there. And if that thing went out, the whole city or the whole nation there would be judged, okay? If that fire went out, it was a symbol of, like, of God, in the light of God, okay? And so if they did not keep that going, then they would be judged, okay? There'd be some kind of judgment come on them. So the thief in the night is that the high priest would go around, and whoever the night watchman was, he would have to be continuously staying awake and keeping those coals going. Well, if he fell asleep, that high priest would put little tongs or something in there, and he would get a coal out and put it on the guy's clothes until the guy's clothes caught on fire, and then he starts jumping out of his clothes, running around until he becomes naked. So if you're wondering, like, why is all this naked talk about in the Bible? Well, that's what it's talking about, that you were basically caught with your pants down. You weren't doing the job. You're sleeping on the job. So if he is coming like a thief in the night to you, well, that means you're not watching. You don't know what the plans are here. You're not following things, okay? But if you're a child of the day, then you will know. And that's what the next part of that verse says that people don't want to quote. But it says that you would know when he's coming, okay? That day will not overtake you as a thief. So some of you guys think that means that no one's ever going to know when Jesus is coming. That's not true. Because Amos 3:7 tells us that a prophet must come forward. So if a prophet has to come forward before God's going to do something on this earth, then we know that a prophet has come forward to announce the date of the rapture. Now let's talk about this. Can anything be delayed before you announce a time that it was set? No. If I tell you I'm going to have a picnic with you in the future sometime, at what point am I delayed or late? Never. We never decided a time. But if I said I'm going to come on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock, we're going to have a picnic. Well, if it comes to be like 7 o'clock at night and I'm not there yet, then at that point I've been delayed. You might be calling me and say, where are you at? You thought you were going to come over here. Well, I got into an accident and so I had to go to the hospital. And then there's a point or a reason for a delay, right? So Jesus had to fulfill this delay prophecy in Matthew 25, Habakkuk 2:3, Hebrews 10:37, and Ezekiel 12:28. Okay, that had to be fulfilled. It also connects with Matthew 24:22 in that the days had to be shortened by 6 months. Now, I've proven that on different videos as far as what the timeline looks like and how all Joshua's dates actually do line up. He has and always has been a true prophet, okay? And so we need to get that unbelief out of our hearts, okay? Because you're going to have your robes soiled with unbelief. We don't need to be looking for another date. We don't need to be jumping to another feast day or anything else. You need to get in the boat, okay? I'm going to give you some more concrete evidence here that you can understand. And I think, and he's nudging me a little bit, like, go back and look. Didn't I say I was going to put some signs in the heavens and the stars and the moon and stuff? And I'm getting that right now. And I'm going to check it because I haven't checked that yet, but I'm just going to get this one out. So we had these different kinds of eclipses here. And this one on April 8th went through a place called Rapture, Indiana. Okay? It crossed through at this path of totality here on that part at that date. Okay? Remember that when that happened? That big crisscrossy thing happened? Like right here, I'm just going to use this fork. I don't have anything else. Right here, this one, this was path of totality for me because I'm in South Carolina. But then this other one happened. Thank you, baby. This other one happened here, and that's the one we're talking about here. This one, okay? So Indiana's like somewhere right here, okay? So that place was called Rapture, Indiana. Now here's the pattern that this person found. Let's see if I can get it pulled up here. Okay. So on 4/8 of 2024 to 4/4 of 2026 is the 726 days between those two dates, okay? If you look in the Strong's Concordance, which is the part that you can look up like what numbers mean in the Bible and that kind of thing, is 726 means the words caught up or harpazo or rapturo or rapture. Now this is, I'm going to take this for a little bit slower, okay? The word caught up, we find in this little verse here in 1 Thessalonians 4:17. It says, "Then together with them, we who are still alive and remain on earth will be caught up in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. Then we will be with the Lord forever." So see, they are getting raptured. Somebody that's alive is going up. And then before it says the dead in Christ will be raised too, okay? All right? So that part tells us that there is going to be a rapture, okay? And this is how we get the word rapture, if you don't know, okay? So from that verse, we go from caught up to harpazo, which is the Greek word for those two words caught up, which then translates into the Latin, which is what our English and several other French and Spanish and all that stems from Latin, which is rapturo, which translates to English as rapture, okay? So the dead in Christ are going to come up first. That's the next verse above this, okay? And then we who are alive and remain are going to be caught up with them in the clouds to meet Jesus in the air, okay? That's what we're going to do. So then we are going to prove that it is a pre-trib rapture, okay? It's a pre-trib rapture, and this is the rapture date window starting on 4/4, okay? That's the window. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen on 4/4. It just means that's the rapture window. It's 4/4, 4/5, because they count their days in the Hebrew culture from sunset to sunset is how it works, okay? All right. So now let's look at Revelation 3:10. This is how we're going to prove it's a pre-trib rapture if some of you are mixed up about that, okay? "Because you have obeyed my command to persevere, I will protect you from the great time of testing that will come upon the whole world to test those who belong to this world." All right? So what that is a great time of testing. We would call that what? Tribulation. So they're going to be protected from the time of the tribulation. And we know it's a tribulation because it's going to come on the whole world to test those who belong to the what? The world. Okay? Now, some of your translations might say the hour of trial or the hour of testing, but that's just a symbolic meaning of a certain period of testing, okay? Doesn't mean that the tribulation is only going to happen one literal hour, okay? There are some symbolic words in Revelation, and even the time periods of them are. Like the church of Smyrna, that's the church that's going to be persecuted and go through the tribulation. But it says that Satan will be able to test them for 10 days. Well, that doesn't mean that he's only going to have 10 days with them and then they're going to be like killed or something and they're going to be martyred. It means that that's the period of testing between the patterns of the prophecy. So if you go back and look at your Jewish feasts, or it's really the Feast of the Lord. We've gotten that wrong too. I shouldn't have said it that way. It's the Feast of the Lord because they're in the Bible written as the Feast of the Lord. Most of the time the Jewish people are the only one that do it, but we all could be doing it, okay? And he wants us to do them in the millennial kingdom too. He actually says, if you're not doing it in the millennial kingdom, I'm not going to send any rain to your area. That's what he says to those people that are there, the people that populate the millennial kingdom. So these are important to him. And they're important to him for a couple of different reasons because of the prophetic. So if we look at what's really supposed to be called in the Bible, and people have changed the name, is Yom Teruah, which is the Feast of Trumpets, or really it's called the Day, because Yom means day, the Day of Trumpets, or the Day of blowing shofars, or the Day of making a lot of noise. That kind of is the word Teruah there, okay? Now, people have called it Rosh Hashanah, but that's a counterfeit, okay? That's not what this Feast of the Lord is. It's Yom Teruah, okay? Then we kind of trickle down through the calendar there, and it's 10 more days. So it's 10 days of testing or afflicting yourself. That's when they would pray and fast, and they might put on even sackcloth and ashes and stuff during that time, because they were supposed to be like mourning their sins, or like really doing some deep soul searching and that kind of thing. That's what that whole 10 days is, of this testing or afflicting yourself. And then you become into Yom Kippur, or the Day of Atonement, where they have to atone for the sins, and the high priest would have to go in there and sprinkle that blood from one of those goats. Remember, one of the goats got killed, and one of them got the sins placed on it and cast out into the wilderness, okay? But the one that got killed, he'd have to sprinkle it on the mercy seat, and that was the only day he could go in there, was on the Day of Atonement, okay, into the Holy of Holies to do that. So there's a prophetic pattern there from the Yom to the Yom, or from the Day of Trumpets, we'll call it, or to the Day of Atonement is 10 days. So that pattern is what's in Revelation there in Church of Smyrna, and that's how we know that they are the martyred church, because he tells them they have to lay down their life and they can get a crown of life, okay, for that. So you got to understand that every kind of thing in Revelation that's a number pattern is not a literal number. Same thing with the 24 elders. We figured that out because I am in the prophetess role. He's given me lots of words of knowledge, okay? So the number 24 actually goes with the priestly order of rotation of these 24 different families that would be under like a leader's name, like a family name, and they would go in for like their time of service. I don't know if it was a week or a month or whatever, but they would go in there and they would do their rotation, and then the next family would come in. Well, that is a symbol of the fact that we would be kings and priests with him. Now, we did find an interesting little pattern that Daddy God showed us here, is that number 24, those names of the priestly families, if you put them in the order that they had on rotation there, and then you string it together in a sentence, well, guess what it says, y'all? It says there's going to be some kind of wedding going on at the barley harvest, which is March and April, and that some people are going to be drawn up. What's another word for what? Caught up, right? They're going to be delivered. That's another word for delivered, too. So you need to get your butt in this boat over here with me, okay? Don't be doubting it. I don't want to hear anybody saying, oh, I don't know. Are we going to look? What's the next date we're going to look for? Well, honey, I ain't looking for another date, okay? I'm getting in the boat, and we're going to go. And if you got that little sin of unbelief, this little sneaky sin, right? Hebrews 3:12, well, then you're going to have some spots on your white robe there that you're supposed to be washing. Go check out that Revelation chapter 3 stuff. You got to have the white robes on. You can't have any sin in your heart, or he's not going to give you your crown, because the rapture is a reward, not a free bonus with your salvation. Go see if you can quote a verse that says when you get saved, you automatically get to go in the rapture. You're not going to find it, because it's not there. You must be having the crown. You must be having those white robes on. And he's also telling me to tell you, you must have that lamp full of oil, representing in this prophetic application of that parable, full of faith. There better not be any doubt. There better not be any disbelief. There better not be any, well, I don't know if I believe that prophet stuff. Because if you're saying you don't believe the word of the prophet, well, then you don't believe the word of the Lord. Because the word of the Lord is in the prophet's mouth. And the prophet said, get ready on 4:4 and 4:5 to go in this rapture. We're going to call it rapture. Because you're about to be caught up. And you do want to skip this time of testing. It's going to be tested on the whole world, right? We don't want to be here for this. So get in the boat. Don't even write it in a comment. What are we going to look for next? Well, I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Well, you better get in the boat, okay? So that's what Daddy God said. You better get in the boat. If your Daddy God shows up and say, hey, jump in the car, we go at 4:4, 4:5, then you better get in the car, right? Okay, think of it that way. If he's coming to pick you up, would you be going like, well, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be here or not. I think I'm going to go to a football game or something. And just he can call me when he gets there. No, then you're going to get left behind, okay? Then you're going to become what? Not the barley harvest. You're going to have to be the wheat. What happens to the wheat when they harvest it? It gets pulverized. So listen, don't get run over with that tribulation train. Y'all going to get up here in this barley harvest, because all they got to do to harvest that is they just got to wave it in the air and it just floats right up. All that chaff just floats right off of it. It's a symbol of the rapture, folks. Get in the boat. Stop this sin of unbelief, Hebrews 3:12, and get in the boat and pass this around to people so they can see what all this work means and how it all fits together. He's showing us so much, fulfilling prophecy of Daniel 12:4. Knowledge will increase. It's spiritual knowledge, guys. Knowledge about the scriptures. Things are getting unsealed. We know what the number 666 means now. It has to do with the delay. I'll link that one to this video, how we figured all that out. And it's not my knowledge. It's just he nudges me into certain directions, and then he confirms it. So that's how it works. And he sort of gives me thoughts, too. And then he sort of drops stuff in like a download almost. All right? So we're figuring this out. You need to get in the boat.